There wouldn't have been a strike if they had increased the wages. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. There wouldn't have been, there wouldn't have been, there wouldn't have been, there wouldn't have been. No habría habido o no hubiera habido una huelga si ellos, los jefes, los patronos, hubieran subido los sueldos o los salarios en este caso. Wages es salario para operario, de cuello azul, como se dice. That's a wage, wages. Salary suele ser sueldo de cuello blanco. It's wages, like mine, white collar. Yes, pero hubo una huelga por ese motivo, porque no subieron los sueldos o los salarios. Pero de haber subido, si hubieran, there wouldn't have been, no habría habido una huelga si ellos hubieran subido los sueldos. There wouldn't have been a strike if they had increased the wages. Okay, back again. Listen, there wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. There wouldn't have been a strike if they had increased the wages. Wages are the salaries, okay? No habría habido una huelga si ellos hubieran aumentado los salarios. Okay, lógico, seguramente que sí. There wouldn't have been, no hubiera habido, no habría habido. There wouldn't have been, there wouldn't have. There is I. There are, I. There was, hubo. Habrá, habría, habría habido. There is, there are, there was, there were, there would be, there would have been. Negative, there wouldn't have been. Dicho de corrido, there wouldn't have. There wouldn't have been. There wouldn't have, there wouldn't have, there wouldn't have, there wouldn't have, there wouldn't have been a strike. Pero hubo una huelga, pero no habría habido una huelga de haber, si ellos no hubieran, si ellos hubieran subido los sueldos. There wouldn't have been a strike. There wouldn't have been a strike. There wouldn't have been. There wouldn't have been. There wouldn't have. There wouldn't have. There wouldn't have. Practice it. A strike.
Hey, how's it going? Look what I have here. The hotel sales from last summer. A huge improvement from last year, I see. Now, I don't want to show off, but there wouldn't have been a huge improvement from last year if it weren't for me. What? There wouldn't have been. I know you agree. So come on, tell me, there wouldn't have been a huge increase in sales if it weren't for you. Hey, thank you. You're too kind. I'm just being honest. I mean, there wouldn't have been as many customers if it weren't for me and my charm. News of good customer service travels quickly. And customer service from someone like me? Let's just say there wouldn't have been so many long queues if it weren't for me. Now, there wouldn't have been sales like this if it weren't for me. To be honest, I expect Harriet to come and say thank you sooner or later. I mean, there just wouldn't have been a huge increase in sales if it weren't for me. The mic machine.
Hello. Well, remember, there wouldn't have been a strike if they had increased the wages, but they didn't. They didn't increase the wages, and so there was a strike. Yeah, last week there was a strike. But if they had increased the wages, there wouldn't have been a strike. There wouldn't have been or been. Muchos británicos dicen, there wouldn't have been. Suena a frijole o alubia, que sí. Pero así se dice, ¿eh? There wouldn't have been. Been en los americanos lo decimos como Benjamín, ¿eh? Así también no podemos tirar la primera piedra. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. There wouldn't have been a strike. A strike's una huelga. That's easy, strike. All right, triangle, triángulo, that is the word of the day. The golden triangle. Yeah, the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, Triángulo Las Bermudas, the Bermuda Triangle. Triangle is a geometric shape. Yes, a love triangle. Two men and one woman, two women and one man, a love triangle. Yes, The triangle, the word of the day.
Oh, guys, I just found out what happened last week. There was a strike in the hotel. There was a strike in the hotel. There wouldn't have been a strike if Felicity had been here. No, there wouldn't have been a strike if Felicity had been here. That's right. Repeat with me. There wouldn't have been a strike if you had been here, Felicity. Perfect. I know. There's no way there would have been a strike if I had been here. You know, Mike says there wouldn't have been a strike if Margaret hadn't been here. He blames her. But Margaret says there wouldn't have been a strike if Mike hadn't been here. She blames him. It's a mess. All I know is there wouldn't have been a strike if I was here, because I create fun. And there wouldn't have been a strike if we were having fun. There wouldn't have been a strike if we were playing a board game. There wouldn't have been a strike if we were, I don't know, playing in the pool. No, we would be having too much fun to have a strike. If only I had been here. There wouldn't have been a strike if we were singing, and there wouldn't have been a strike if we were at the library. There wouldn't have been a strike if I was here, because I just fun.
Hello again. All right, one more time. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. No habría habido una huelga si ellos no hubieran subido los sueldos. There wouldn't have been a strike if they had, si ellos hubieran aumentado los salarios. If they had increased, ahora yo hago la contracción, if they'd, y ese duro sonido de they'd, lo enlazo con la I latina de increased. If they'd increased, if they didn't, made in China, they didn't. If they'd increased the salaries or the wages, it's the same. Wages normally for blue-collar worker, salary is for a white-collar worker like me. If they'd increased, if they'd raised the salaries, increased, fijaos como la E de increased suena como una T dura. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the salaries.
I have some gossip. Un poco de chismorreo. Yeah, a little gossip, okay? But shh, keep it quiet. The hotel across the way, yeah? They're on strike in huelga. Yeah, they're on strike, unofficially. Yeah, well, they're on strike because, well, they cut their wages. Salario. They cut their wages. Wages. Sí, repítelo conmigo en casa. Wages. Es difícil este sonido. Wages. Wages. Dilo. Wages. Es como CH, pero no completamente. Wages. Wages. Por ejemplo, el salario mínimo es minimum wage. Minimum wage. So yeah, they were striking over there because, well, they cut their wages. Now, I don't know how much money they earn, cuánto dinero ganan, but I don't think it was a lot. Temo que no era mucho dinero. So if on top of that, encima, they cut their wages, well, I can understand it. Yeah, well, you know, their wages weren't very high anyway. So then if they cut their wages, then they have extremely low wages. I understand it completely. Yeah.